we have Samitha, who is our chief guest for the day and the chief speaker for the day, I would say. Right. Samitha, she's Samitha Ethuldoraarchchi, and she's a psychologist and a human development consultant as well as a life coach who is with many experiences in supporting children, adolescents, and of course young adults, especially in Sri Lanka, catering to the Sri Lankan community and the social building. And of course, she has been the founder of Samhita, that is the Center for Psychological Services, supporting all the other people who are in need of support on the other areas in terms of psychology and in terms of mental health. And her education, of course, covers psychology, research, counseling, therapeutic interventions, sociology, and then, of course, education and research. So her expertise, in addition to what I said, is on youth counseling, especially the young adults and the adolescents. And she's currently supporting many of the undergraduates and postgraduates of the Sri Lankan universities, along with the private education institutions. And that is the very reason that we have you on board today. So thank you very much for joining us today and having this discussion, which is, I think, at the most important point and the most needed point. So just to give you a briefing to the students who are here, and the audience who have joined us, please do feel free to ask any of the questions that you have. We have the chat line open in the webinar that is going on right now via MS Teams. Or if you're worried about your confidentiality and if you need to send a question along, please do reach out to me on Teams personally on my account, which is under sss@apit.lk. As you all know, total confidentiality is guaranteed, so you can reach out by sending a question to that as well. And I will ask all these questions at the end of the session on behalf of all of you. So why we are meeting today with Samitha's introduction is to see how can we manage our inner distractions, and how can we tame all these inner distractions in the point where we cannot actually completely stop them, especially during this lockdown. And I think more than all our staff members, we have been having mostly students going through this difficulty for a longer period because they had a lot of online lectures happening instead of having to come to the premises. So having that in mind, Samitha, thank you so much again for joining with that. So my first question goes to you. Shall we just have a look at as to, okay, now that this is the lockdown period going on, this is a change in our physical routine as to where we have been going in, what we have been doing, all that actions have, of course, gone through a major change. But can you explain what actually happens to our mind when such change take place physically and around us?
Okay, Kaushali, thank you for, first of all, I would like to thank you for inviting me for the webinar. And I would like to invite everyone to make the, feel free here. I don't want to make this as a lecture, and I would like to have an interaction session, even it's a webinar, because I know that I don't like to listen to, I don't like lectures and listen to lectures. So I know you all are as well. So as you asked me, it's true. Actually, now we are facing a different type of situation. We had been used to a lifestyle for a long time. It's nearly maybe if it's students, it's maybe 20 years. For adults, that may be more than that. Yeah, that's true. But if you go back that before the pandemic, if we memorize the lifestyle we had, it was very busy, right? We had a lot of complaints against it because we knew that we didn't have time for us, and we didn't have time with our loved ones, and even with children, our husbands, maybe partners, or for the children, they were stuck in a way with studies, and even maybe same as today as well. But still, there were differences between that, and we have to go through, that the traffic jams on roads, and we didn't like it, right? There were a lot of complaints even before. Just I want to remind it to you, right? I know that other than that, if we take that, now we are distracted and we have a lot of complaints now about this life, right? But when compared to the life we had before, there were a lot of complaints against that life as well. So there's something that we have to think about. Right, okay. Life is normally, even we notice or not, we have to face the changes in our life. Right now, this is a sudden change. So we had to had taken several new steps, right, which we even never thought of. Actually, wearing instead of wearing a mask, we never thought of. We will face to a era where we have to wear a mask. They were in movies actually. We didn't never, you know, took it as very serious things. But now it's the reality. Right? Right? Why even why we can't change? Just we have ever asked from ourselves. We'll take this chance to question ourselves, talk to ourselves. Normally we used to talk to other people, but we don't talk to ourselves, right? We don't question us. Why? We strongly believe as a nation that our country cannot change. I think we believed it. We every time, even in the media, it says our country is not going to change, right? This is going to ruin, right? Right? That no one can change this country, right? But now we see that we are changing, that we are facing to a new truth actually, and we are learning to live with disease, live with virus. So we are learning, we are changing. Now why don't we take this as a space to think about our lives again, right? Rather than complaining about the physical, actions that we had to face and change, we have to change, right? So we can. This is normally we change the way we the think changes in critical times. Now we are in a critical time. Not only us, the whole world. So that is the big picture. There's a whole world. Uh, we even we don't discuss. So we had a underneath belief that world can handle any problem. World power, the powerful countries can handle any problem which might come to this world, right? Now we know that even those countries are struggling and facing difficulties to overcome this, right? So this is the time for us to think again about our life rather than complaining. Yeah, it's easy, complaining is easy. But if we take the responsibility of ourselves, and that if we can understand our part in this pandemic, that it is going to be very clear, right? I don't know, Kaushali, that I answered your question, but this is the time where
I
we
think
have to
that's a
compare.
more of a introduction, more of like a
Yes,
perfect pitching to see our level of complaining where had been related. So
yeah,
even though you didn't use the whole psychological
yeah,
terms
no, no,
with the
yes, yes,
explanation,
mm,
it matches up because what actually goes through our mind. We
mm,
tend to look at, as far as I understood, we tend to look at, okay, exactly, there is a change happening in our mind,
mm,
and that mm, routine change is quite struggling, and
mm,
routine change is quite difficult, so we put it out in the form of a complaint. Is
mm.
that what that is what I got out of
Yes,
that?
yes. We'll take like this actually. Now we are in an uncertain condition. When the environment is uncertain, so our mind, our brain doesn't work well, because our brain work very well when we are in a certain environment, right? So now we world is not in a certain environment, it's in a threat. When we are facing a threat, normally our mind, our brain make us ready to face that threat. So that's how it works. So because it's a natural process happening inside us to face the danger, face the threat. So we have to fight against the threat, or we have to run away from the threat. So our the fear comes as a the anxiety comes as a that help to us to make ourselves ready to the threat. So that is we are in a sort of a that sort of a condition
Condition, right?
psychologically. Right.
Right.
So,
Okay. So with that, can you explain what is this inner distraction? Now we are all about today. It's all about, okay, how do you manage or how do you tame the inner distraction? So in human behavioral perspective, what is exactly this inner distraction is, Samita?
yes, we'll say that I need to. I think that get into the topic by explaining few background information.
Sure.
So when we say inner distractions, so we are drawing a line, clear line between in and out,
Mm-hmm.
right? So inner distraction, and there are outer distractions as well,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we normally our psyche develops as a result of that the out distractions as well, right? So we can't think ourselves as a one product. So we are, raised and we are developed as a product of the outside society, right? So so when we distract, how we distract normally? So, uh, either we'll explain what is distraction. Why we get distraction? It's time we can't. Sometimes we can't get something done on time. We can't keep our concentration on one thing, right? So we get easily distracted by food, maybe by a person, by a noise, by something else, or by the technology that is very popular now, right?
Yes.
So but in that, when we are talking about that, why don't you think there are times we don't get distracted? So this is the easiest way to understand it.
Mm-hmm.
If we are involved in something we like, we don't get distracted easily. If you are watching a movie which you like the most, you don't get distracted. You don't hear anything else, right? Even your mom calls
That's
that
right.
no one can go into house. So don't get distracted. But when you are studying, you still get distracted. Why don't we ask why? If when we are doing the things that we like, we don't get distracted. The things when we are doing the things that we don't like, we get distracted. That is what we want, right? Because we don't want to do this, but we have to do it. So we want to get distractions from outside, right? Just to think about that, right? So when that now we are talking to students, right? Okay, especially students, that's they have a lot of complaints about. Even adults, we have, as adults we have that distractions, but when studies they are easily get distracted. Why? Because you don't know why you study what you're studying. You don't like what you're studying. You are studying because you have to study, or maybe your parents have asked you to study, or that if you want to get a good job, in order to get a good job, that you have to study. But you don't have any connection between the studies what you are doing, the lessons. So we just going through a note, and which you don't want to read, but you have to read to in order to get through the exam. So that is the only relationship with you have with the study, the note, the subject, right? If you really if you can really spend time with you to understand why, what do you want in your life, why do you want to study, or law, or the business studies, or IT, or whatever the field. So why do you want to study? What do you expect from your life exactly? This is the best time to ask from you, since you're the young people. Now we are, it's always maybe our time is out now. So you can ask that question from them. Why don't you try to connect with the thing that what you are doing, right? Rather than following, what you maybe the parents word or whatever. So ask yourself, try to connect with what you are studying, then you don't get easily distracted, right? So that's
That's
what
right.
normally you can easily, that I think that rather than talking about theoretical stuff, I think it's better to discuss about the practical ways that you get distracted and you are not get distracted the times, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
So, with that understanding, again, I'm coming back to a little bit more further explanation because I have a question coming in. So, even then, what is this inner distraction, Miss? I don't understand, but I think I
Inner
have
distraction.
it. So that's one
Okay.
of the statements that I'm getting in. So
Okay.
the student would want to know a little further explanation. Maybe a little theoretically would also be supportive, Samita, here, because
Mm-hmm.
I think it's to understand, okay, how do we distinguish this inner distraction between the outer distractions? Because we are going to be managing inner distractions, part of it.
Okay, right. So we'll say, if you like, why don't we go into a small activity? Is that all right? That
Yes,
whom it
that's
will take.
perfectly fine.
Yeah. Okay. Then all of you, please. When I ask to, please, you have to, close your eyes and just let your mind to fly away wherever it wants. Don't try to control it. Just let it go and just observe it. You are going to be an observer here. Don't try to control it. Don't try to keep it one place. Just let it go away. Just let it do whatever it wants. I will compare this to a situation where if parents know this actually, since that children may know that the way that parents relate to them. Normally, you want when you were small, you want to do this and that. You want to drag this and you to play, you to jump onto something, whatever, right? You do this and that, but normally your parents control it. Don't do that, don't get onto that, you might fall down, whatever that. All the time they control you, right? Maybe there are a few parents that they don't. But anyway, likewise, now here, as a good parent, like watching your child doing any naughty thing, watch your mind that way, right? Don't try to control it. Okay, we'll do it,
Right.
right? Okay, close your eyes. Just let your mind to go away wherever it wants. Don't try to control it. I'm going to stop talking now. After 1.5 minutes, I will wake you up. Okay, slowly you can open your eyes. Right? So, is there any? I don't know. I can see the if someone texts. Can I see it? No, right? So maybe you can
No,
see it,
no, I
right?
can, yes, I can see.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
there's
Okay, then you
someone
can read it.
messaging, I will tell you. Yes.
Okay, right. Now, what do you feel that have you? What do you see that have you had a time to become the observer rather than judging it or rather than controlling it?
Yes, so the platform is open for everyone to voice. By all means, join. If not, you can type in the chat as well. So, if I am to share how I felt,
Yes.
honestly, being a psychologist, I have just forgot to give 1.5 minutes to myself.
Eh,
And thanks to you, I was just wondering, oh my God, it was all about what, why didn't I do this for the whole time? That was my awakening. So I was thinking
okay.
about myself. That's a lot of inner thoughts coming in. Thinking, I mean, why didn't I do this? I was immediately focusing from my top to toe, muscles to my postures to, the areas that I need to develop to areas where I'm feeling a little uncomfortable, tied to. So it was a whole roller coaster in house for me. And which made me finally focus, okay, I'm going to only look at one person or one segment right now,
Yeah.
and then start focusing at the end of the session. to work out on looking at myself immediately before I go back to work. So that was my internal awakening.
Mm.
And we can
Is
ask few questions from the others also. Anyone else who would like to share? If not, you can always type it in.
Yeah, Kausi, I'm Kalu here.
Yes,
yes,
Mr.
Kausi,
Kalu.
yeah.
yes, I can
Now,
hear you.
now I just observe it and
Uh,
I try to control something I don't like. When the mind is flying away to something I don't like, when past maybe when I remind something, the mind is going to the bad experiences. Then I try to control it and divert to a much more
like a
uh,
bad parent.
yeah, yeah enjoyable thing. Yeah, that's what I
uh,
experience.
uh. Is there any student that would like to share?
They're a little taking a little while, I guess. Okay, there's one
Oh, yeah,
chat
that's
coming into me.
okay.
Means I feel that there's so many happening in me, it's unbearable. How can I control this?
Right.
So
Okay.
that's
Now
one
this
question.
all about controlling, right? Now
Exactly.
I clearly ask you to not to control it, right? Now it again and again come to the discussion table about how we control our inner thoughts, inner distractions, right? We can start from there on, and I will come to this exercise later on, right? So
Right.
normally, inner distractions, when we say that our thoughts and emotions, clearly is our thoughts and emotions, right? When we say thoughts and emotions, we are very sure about our emotions. We know, we clearly, we can read, we can, feel our emotions. When you're sad, that you know you're sad, right? And but and you know what you do, the behavior, you monitor the behavior. When you're sad, maybe you cry, or okay, you keep yourself aside and look at something or whatever. So behavior, you monitor your emotion and the behavior. But we have forgotten each and every emotion have a thought behind. From a thought only we can get a emotion, but we don't read the underlying thought. We are not sensitive enough to read that part, but we read our emotions, right? So inner distractions mean that we live in sometimes in the past with our thoughts, and we are struggling with our experiences, maybe negative experiences, and or either we are planning to future, right? While we are trying to live in the present, right? That is what we want to do. We
Mhm.
are on some work, so we are trying to live in present. But while trying to living in present, our thoughts go back to past or the future, right? That's how happening inside. Those are the inner distractions. We think so. We have some. Maybe when we say emotions, emotions maybe is fear, is sadness, is anger, right? That happiness. So there are a set of emotions. We have not named it actually. That there are few emotions have named. It's a spectrum actually. That right. So there are slight differences between the emotion. When you are angry, maybe that. So there are levels of anger, right? So likewise. So you get those emotions. Have you ever heard that these emotions are chemicals? These are brain chemicals. These are brain chemicals which comes through the brain, right? So why? So you have some thoughts, right? If you think I'm not good enough, that is a thought you get, and so what you feel, that you fear to go to a maybe class, go to give a speech, maybe, right? So that is your behavior. But why? It fear comes when you feel that you are not good enough. If we feels that no one loves me, so we feel sad. That is the emotion we get. But because of that thought, that our brain thinks, right? So we need this. We can trick our brain. Always don't trust. Sometimes you don't have to trust your brain. Right?
We have amazing experiences sharing, even though it is not coming verbally. So there's
Okay.
one explanation coming as I was thinking about all my struggles that I have and my unemployment. So that's why I came in. That's what came into my mind, and I don't
Mm.
think I can anyway control it. At the
Mm.
same time, there's another comment in the chat. I don't know why, but I feel like crying. So I immediately responded, please surrender.
Mm.
Let that emotion come out. Once in a while, you need to cry and put it out.
Okay.
And then there is a question, Samitha, for us again, in the same line. Is it good or bad to have these inner distractions generally in someone's life?
Yeah, sometimes it's good, right? That is where that we change our life's patterns, we improve ourselves. If we are not distracted, if we have a really smooth life, right, we will get bored, right? We need distractions to improve and to see new areas, to develop ourselves. Distractions are good in a way, right? But if you are distracted, um, of know that try, if you can't continue your work, that is the problem, right? You have to get distracted in terms of improve yourself. It doesn't mean you have to get distracted when you are doing something. If you can't keep your concentration 5 minutes, there's a
Mhm.
problem, right? So in every, yeah, Kaushik, yeah.
Yes, sorry, I'm just reading another question coming
Mm,
back to back on that. So
mm,
how can we know that we have too many inner distractions?
mm.
So if we, I mean,
Yeah, it's
I'm
easy.
glad
Yes,
these
yes,
questions are
yes.
coming
Yeah.
in, so it keeps us open. Okay, now that we know whether there is nothing called good and
Mm.
bad about the distractions, it's all to do with how do
Yes,
you accept in
yes.
house. So now the
Mm-mm.
question is, how do we actually know that we have the urge for more distractions, or rather, how do we know that it's too many?
Yeah. If you can't keep your concentration on something for at least 5 minutes, 10 minutes, at least you should have to keep, you will be able to keep your concentration about 15 minutes at least. So if you can't that you need a help, right? You need a help is means that outside professional support to make you organized. Just it. Not that's a big issue. Right? Don't take it as a serious issue, right? Simply maybe you are going through something which you have not noticed, right? So simply maybe you are overwhelmed with your work. So maybe because of that, right? So you don't have to get upset even though. So, but you can get a support, the professional support to get things in order again, right? Okay.
And then there's another question coming in, right? So we'll just take the questions as and when the relevance is there, because I
Mm,
think it will support them to
mm,
resolve the
mm,
problems then and there as well.
mm,
So
mm.
the question is, if I have too many distractions, should I talk to a psychologist or a psychiatrist?
Psychologist, right? It's clearly
Actually,
a
Samita, I
psychologist.
think
Mm,
I would like to just ask you to explain, or rather request, it will be very supportive if you can request or rather explain what is exactly the difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist, and when we should
mm.
reach out to a psychiatrist, especially in terms of our inner distraction management, or if we have a difficulty in managing
Yes.
our inner thoughts.
Yeah, actually, this is something that in Sri Lanka is a really the people are unaware of this area.
Mhm.
That psychology means there are a lot of psychological disturbances in our life. Psychological, if you are psychologically challenged, if you have some problem which you cannot overcome psychologically, right? So you have to go to a psychologist. But there are some issues, psychiatric issues. So we can easily understand the psychiatric issues and psychological issues. As an example, we take depression. Everyone knows about depression now. When it comes to depression, there's a psychological part and a psychiatric part together. If you are depressed and if you feel like suicide, that harm yourself, that means you need to go to a psychiatrist. I'll explain why, right? When your mind is in that severe condition, you need a chemical support from outside, right? Chemicals, I told you before what happens when we are distracted psychologically or threatened psychologically. Our chemical balance is going to threat, so it's going to imbalance. So we have to balance it by giving outside chemicals, right? For that you have to of course go to a psychiatrist. They prescribe medication. After diagnosing you, they prescribe medication. But if you just say that, if you feel that you are not good enough, if you can't concentrate, you don't want to talk someone else, you just don't want to go out with someone, that means that you are in a condition which you need a support. So for that, of course, you have to go to psychologist, right? So
Right.
normally psychiatrists cannot, don't be offensive, that psychiatrist can't solve any psychological problem. They can balance, help to balance, give a sort of a chemical through by giving some chemicals outside, right? So what psychologist does is, psychologist, if you go to a psychologist, they will help you to go through your problem, look at your problem, right? They will work out with you to understand from where you get this depression, that these kind of psychological conditions. So they are going to give you some time, like 50 minutes, maybe 1 hour, and they are working with you, maybe few more sessions, right? So working with you to understand what is going through in you. Then they help you to overcome it with several tools and interventions, right? That's how it happens. Is that
Right.
enough?
Yes, I think it's
Yeah.
wonderfully explained. I mean,
Yeah.
we can go on about this, but at the same time, we are trying to cover as many areas as possible
Yes.
while
Yeah.
trying to keep our, then and there manage our distractions to not to go elsewhere, but focus on how do we manage these inner distractions. So, with that, Samitha, the other question that has popped up in the chat is that what are the ways we can manage this, or what are the ways we can control
Distractions.
it?
Right.
Yes. So in terms of
Okay.
taming, in fact, the we are now looking at the area where how can we actually take control of these inner distractions or manage it or accept it and be in a situation where these inner distractions are not going to be a trouble for our routine life.
Right.
So what are the
We'll say, yeah.
mechanisms?
Actually, when we say control, you never try to control that. Just I'm again saying that. I want to say it again and again. Don't try to control your distractions. Right? So if you are distracted, accept the fact that you are distracted. Accept it. So see it. I'm distracted. I'm getting distracted again and again. So see what is, from what that you get distractions. It's what, because that what is your inner voice says to you. So you have to listen to your inner voice, what it says. What it says that you are not ready for the exam, so you are going to fail the exam, or you haven't completed your assignments or whatever. That is that what that you are afraid of, or that there are a lot of issues. That listen to your inner self. Why you are getting distracted? You think that you are not, you are not good at this subject. Maybe that is the reason that you are, just listen to that. That accept that fact, right? Not, don't try to go against it. It's just try. You can see, if you try to push down a ball in water, what happens? It just pop up, right? It comes against you. Okay, likewise, don't let your that in the, I'll take that example, the exercise what we did. I ask you to just to let your mind to go wherever it wants, just to be an observer, right? So I'll explain how can we become an observer. That is very easily we can understand. Sometimes when you are in a lecture, maybe you hear the lecture but you sleep. You are not actively listening it. Maybe everyone has this experience. You listen it, but you are not actively listening, right? So it's like half sleep. And after some times your head fell down. Then you are realizing that you're not listening to this. You're in sleep, right? So then only you realize. So what is it? So we have three brains, right? This is not the time to explain that, but I'll explain two brains. We have a rational brain which likes knowledge, which like to create new things, to learn new things. That is our rational brain, our neocortex. We have it, right? That is what we call human brain. That is why we are become humans. Otherwise, we are mammals, right? So, and also we have a limbic brain, that where that our all emotions are, happening in. So those are what that distracting us. We have a person who would like to observe and think rationally and make plans for future and all, but there's a person that who want some sort of actions, activities, and have a more routine rather than that. So we have to deal. What we are going to do is to balance both of these. So how can we take control over that? How the human brain, we use the human brain to take control over the emotional brain. That is where that the challenge comes. So in that case, so as I said, that to observe the mind, which whatever it goes, have you ever noticed that it didn't say, it didn't went or think any serious thing? I don't think that when you were in experience that 1.5 minutes, you didn't get any serious thought to your mind. It's just crazy, few random ideas, right? Not none of those are not serious. So, but we take decisions when it comes to serious times. We take decisions from that brain and we act upon and we shout against others that we when we are solving a problem we use that brain, right? And everything we make everything mess up. Likewise, so there's an observer in you. That is what humanity in you, the human in you. So you have to make human what you call empower to take control over the every other thing. So inner distractions always come through your inner uh, uh, emotions and thoughts, but you can rewrite all those thoughts in a good way, good manner, which won't get distractions.
Wonderful. So with that, there is another question coming.
Mm.
Can you, Miss, please explain how to accept what's happening to us in house? I guess the question may
In-house
be,
in the sense in the
how
pandemic.
in house in the in house in I am guessing this is to do with internally inside the person.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Right. So you'll say,
It's all about, I guess this is mostly to do with how do you go ahead with self acceptance that this is
mm,
happening to me.
yeah. So if you say that, if you think that you're beautiful enough, right? Just we take an example and say, right? So how you are going to accept it? Maybe that is the question, right? If you say that you are not good enough at your studies, right? So how do you accept it, right? We'll take that way. Okay. So what is in that case? What is the meaning of beautiful? Who have give the definition for beautiful? Right? You can question that term. So from where you get the idea of beautiful? In if it's in that the is there an exact thing called beautiful? Right? So the concept of beautiful is created in the market. You know that those days when we were young, that the little chubby girls are beautiful. Now it's that what do you call that stereotype, that thing,
Barbie
slim girls are
dolls.
beautiful. Yeah, are beautiful. So that's a concept created from the society. These societies in the market, from the market. So why do you know put yourself in where the place where it's not uncertain, right? If you don't have an arm, that's you don't have an arm. It's why it's what, so what, right? So why don't you think about the things that you can do from the other arm, right? If you don't have hair, that's all right, right? So if you are ready to that just when you look at yourself, right? Now you are anyway that we can't blame anyone. That is how that market works, that we are focused into the individuals now, not the society, right? So there are a lot of other people who are struggling with. I think that only I have problems, but if you take 10 people, each 10 has different type of problems they think they are good, not good enough, right? So whatever it is, you don't have to difficult to accept it. Just search on the area that you feel that you are not good enough, right? That where you have to accept. If it's beautiful, if it's not about studies, that why you should study. If you can't study, that there are a lot of other things that you can do without studying, right? The politicians are not studied, but they are controlling us, right? So there are a lot of other ways that you are going to. So why don't you accept that? If you maybe you can't sing, so you have to accept it, right? Likewise, so it's not difficult. Let's see the big picture rather than limiting yourself to yourself, right?
Wonderful. Yes, thank you so much, Samita. And sorry, Samita. And with that, there's one more question coming in. Miss, how do we practice self-compassion in times where we go through anxiety? Also, can you explain the difference between anxiety and stress? So I guess we will come to this question at the end of our round where we are taking the questions and Q&A, because this would be perfect when we talk about the next area of option that you can attend to when in terms of taming your internal distractions,
Yes, yeah.
because we would be moving towards, okay, what are the other alternatives you can look at in terms of managing your distractions as well. And before that, there is another question that has come. Can we use online psychometric testing, international help sites like Purpose, Seven Cups, and self-help sites to support to overcome these issues? Why don't we have any of these tests online in Sri Lanka? Amazing question,
Yeah.
Savita.
Yes. So
So it's
it's a
all, we'll
different.
start off with, can we actually use a psychometric test to understand our inner selves, understand and make a
Yeah,
gauging about our inner selves? That's the first part
actually,
of the question.
it depends actually. Yeah, I can say that yes, you can, right? Since you're familiar with English, that you're thinking in English, so those materials are developed in English. So yes, you can, of course, you can use it. But it's I don't know to what extent you can use those, right? And based on that, whether you can take decisions, right? If you say that if you want to check whether you are depressed or not, right? So maybe there is a psychometric test where you can check it online, right? So but you don't have right to take the decision that you're going through depression. So it has to be done by a proper, that psychologist or a psychiatrist, with their guidance. They have to diagnose. You are not, going to diagnose, but maybe to understand yourself, to develop your awareness about yourself, maybe you can use those psychometric tests. That's all right, but to that extent only, not to get any precautions or actions against it or to overcome it, right?
Right. So the rest of the
Why
part of
not
the
Sri Lankan,
question,
right?
yes, why no, that's not available in Sri Lanka
Actually, I think since these students are studying in English and thinking in English, so you can use that international stuff.
standards
But
as well.
anyway, standards. But it has to be adapted to our culture. But it's not adapted. It's a huge story. Psychology is very new thing to in Sri Lanka. Actually, the psychiatry was there since that ages. But psychology is something very new to Sri Lanka. Even no one believes that psych matters. Actually, even your parent doesn't know that psych matters. That everyone think about that the physical health, not the psychological health. So that no one is taking measures, or that even the government, even our system, that the hospital system, they don't have a proper way of accommodating a psychologist to the hospitals. So it's our limitation and the in the country. So it has to be developed. We hopefully we will work on it to develop that, improve that area. Right.
Exactly. Even I would actually like to add to that, with the experience that you and I share, we
Yes.
are still lacking proper recognition for psychological support services in Sri Lanka, to the point where counseling psychologists and adolescent psychologists and occupational psychologists are not even recognized in the government appointment system. We currently have
Yes.
place for clinical psychologists who are
Psychologist.
involved in medical interventions and psychiatrists who are involved in providing medication and altering the human mind. So it's open. Maybe all of you can one day get into the
Yes.
changes and add it up. Would be amazing to contribute. But as Samita said, I think we can always use a psychometric test, provided that we do understand what is the exact theory behind it, and what is the exact thinking behind these tests that are available, and that these tests are actually what you're referring to are coming from a proper credible site. When now
Yes,
there is
yes,
a
of
one
course.
over here listed as Seven Cups and Purpose and self-help support sites. Samitha, would you like to add a word over there? What is the credibility of these intervention sites which are commercially set up rather than going through the officially put up psychological associations?
Yeah, actually, there are a lot of sites now, that is in the market. Anyone can do anything, right? So I think that there are a lot of sites developed to get the people's involved, right? So that's what. To identify the proper test, I don't think that as general people, they will be familiar with the psychometric test, right? So that we know what are the things that since that we are trained and all. So
Exactly.
when it says, but in if you really want to search on that, maybe you can go to the the American Psychological Association, and there you can find few things, and all the and World Health Organization have a few maybe. And rather than that, if you search that scholar search, if you did it, so maybe you can find that properly developed psychometric test. But the other developments are maybe that some adaptations of others, right?
Exactly,
Yes,
exactly.
yes, 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 yeah.
All right, so moving into the next area that I would like to ask while the questions keep on coming in. How do we know, Samita, exactly that we are managing these inner distractions after using the mechanisms that we talk about? Let's say, okay, we identify we have a concern in, we don't know really how to manage our distractions, and then we know that we have too many inner distractions. Then we practice all these methods. Once we practice this, how do we make a self assessment as to whether we are managing this properly or whether we are managing it good or bad?
Right. Yeah, it's like this actually. If you feel good and if you feel comfortable with what you are doing and if you enjoy that, so that means you have overcome your distractions, right? So even we say that the ways, the techniques to overcome those, it's not sometimes easy to do alone, right? So maybe at end of the session, I would like to propose to you some activities to do, right? To get them help to overcome your distractions. Is that time to tell it, Kausha?
Yes, Samita, we can take it maybe after two, three questions. I mean, we are toward the
Okay,
end of our
right.
discussion in
Yeah,
terms of understanding
yeah.
the,
For the
I mean, managing of it.
yeah, then for that actually, if you feel good about what you are doing, if you are comfortable with what you are doing, if you feel happy when whatever you are involved in, that means that you have overcome it, right? You don't have to say it. You feel it. You feel it. You feel comfortable. You feel happy. You can smile for nothing, right? So
Exactly.
happiness come within you. So you feel it.
So the next
Yes.
question that I would like to send you is how can actually, this is I'm reading from the audience. How can I help if my friend is having so many inner and outer distractions?
Okay.
So it's all about how can we help someone having this kind of distractions coming in or internal or external.
Mm. Yeah, it's normally what happens that if someone is in trouble, if she or he is willing to share with us, normally we used to advise them, right? That is what we do. We can't solve anyone else's problem. We have to clearly understand. We can't, even psychologists, we can't help anyone else, but we can make them, organize themselves to help themselves, right? Not us. This is about them. So, what you can do is, as a friend, just listen to his problem, just listen to her problem, just be with him or her, hold her, not these days, right? Right, hold her and just let her know I'm there for you, right? Whatever happens, I'm there for you. I will be there for you, and it will go away, just not from words. Let them feel that you are there in her difficulties, so that makes her or him to overcome his problem. That is how it helps. Be an anchor, right? So stay there still and listen to her problem the way that it listens. We can say that if you have do this and did this, that you can overcome this. No, you can't say. The problem is his, that he, from his background, his context only take it has happened. So he has to solve it. But you can give him a very calm and quiet environment to think about in a different manner, different way.
Wonderful. So I think we have come to the end of our discussion, or rather the latter part of our discussion. So while amazing changes and questions are coming in, so I would like to go back to that question where we talk about anxiety and stress. So the question
Yes.
is, Samitha, in terms of okay, there are two questions that has come in the same line. Can these inner distractions destroy my self confidence and self worth? That's the first one. And then the second concern, rather the suggestion that has come is, Miss, can you, sorry, Miss, how do we practice self-compassion in times where we go through anxiety? Also, can you explain the difference between anxiety and stress? So
Stress.
maybe
Okay.
combining all these two questions together, you can address especially the self-worth, internal stress and anxiousness that comes as inner distractions to us, especially these days.
Okay. Right, Sarah, that when it comes to stress, that stress is something you get, you know, the stress hormones are released to face to a threat, as I said before, right? So when you are in trouble, so that is how that yourself make ready to face that, right? Same as anxiety. So that is where that you get what do you call that, the strength to face to that. We'll take the exam as an example, right? When you're about to write an exam, so you get anxious, right? Why? So that is why you're doing your studies, right? There are some slight difference between stress and anxious, but stress, when you're stressed, that the what happens is different, and when you're anxious, how you act is different. The actions are different, the way that you react to it, right? So when you're anxious, you know, anxiety can make you avoid writing exams. So if you are anxious, highly anxious, so you don't want to maybe avoid the exam. You don't want to write the exam, right? So that's how it goes that level, right? But if it's stress, you're stressed, that maybe you can't think clearly. You're messed up. You don't know what to do. What is right and what is good and what is the correct and what is wrong. So that is, that is where that you get confused. That is how it comes. Both are chemical reactions, hormonal reactions, right? So both comes that way. Okay. Is that enough for that?
Right.
Okay.
Yes, I think so. I
Yeah.
believe their questions have been answered. Students and our audience, if you by any chance have any clarifications with these questions that we are asking and the answers that are explanations that are coming in, please do always chat and or rather talk to us and tell us if you need further explanation and understanding, right? So with that, I think we are in the end of our discussion, right? And
Yes.
I believe that we have addressed, but I would like to invite you to go into the activities, Samitha, now, so that
Yes.
we
Yes.
can take the same example that we did and
Yes.
take that
If
further on in terms of managing the distraction that we got internally.
yes, uh, I think that they have a pen and a paper if they can write down, right? So I prefer if you
Yes.
can write down, even they type it on your phone, right? So stop comparing yourself with others. Just what you have to do from here on. Never ever compare yourself with others. Stop doing that. Even if you try, sometimes it happens automatically. Just be aware that you are comparing yourself with others. Just notice it. Notice yourself that you are comparing with others. By doing that, so you can gradually stop comparing yourself with others, right? And also find a way, somehow find a way to serve or help others. You feel good now. You are living in an environment where, individually, alone and trying to get over your things alone, individually, independently. No, try to help someone else, and find a problem in the society and try do something to solve it. Do something, find something, so you feel good, rather than fighting with your inner distractions. That is how that you can overcome your distractions. And the other thing, take the responsibility of yourself. Take it. It's yours, not parents, not educators, not anyone else. You are your responsibility. Take care of him or her. Take it. That is the responsibility you have to take, right? And listen to whispers, the small things. Listen to your breath, right? Listen to small sounds coming around. Listen to the sound wind makes. The small things. Notice small things. And the last one is notice small things. Maybe an ant who is trying to carry some small thing, you know, with the uh, in a way that we can see the bulk of ants that go here and there. The small things. Notice small things. So we have missed a lot of small things in our life, right? So because we just trying to get a lot of huge things. But if you start at least 5 things a day, 5 whispers a day, if you notice, start noticing. 5 small things, if you see 5 small things a day, so without knowing, after 1 month, you will become some other person, not the same person as before. Right. Okay, Kaushali?
Yes, wonderful. So,
Mm.
shall we move on to the activity then?
Yeah, it's actually, this is what actually I want them to do at home at least a month. Okay, these all 5 things that I there are 5 things, right? I want them to do. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, when I ask to stop comparing yourself with others, the first thing is you have to propose yourself. Yeah,
because 5 o'clock you have your class, but at night you can't watch
There is
cartoon
a
after.
small. Okay, no worries. Go ahead. I think there was
okay.
someone with the open mic. That's fine.
Yeah, okay, right. So what they have to do is they have to propose themselves from here on that I will never compare myself with others. But automatically we compare ourselves with others. Whenever you start comparing yourselves, you have to notice it. That is what they have to do. Again, see, I'm comparing myself with others. Even I promise to myself, I'm comparing. Just notice it. Just start noticing yourself, right? Whenever you try to notice it every day, that day by day, so you're reducing that the comparing thing, right? Okay. Likewise,
Right.
and also find a problem in the society and just go through according to your age. Find something. Try to solve that problem, right? Try to find a way to solve that problem from your. It doesn't have to be a big, huge intervention, but the huge thing. Just you know, do some few things, simple things to get things correct, right? So do something like that. And the responsibility thing, responsibility is mostly that these days I know students that parents are still responsible for them. You are adults now, right? It's maybe over 20 years, right? So take control your that first physically take control over you, and then only you can control over your inner thoughts, right? First physically take care of yourself, right? And then you will be able to take care of yourself internally. And listen small things, 5 things a day. Maybe listen to the sound of the wind. Maybe listen the sound of leaves when wind comes, right? Just notice few 5 things a day for 1 month, right? And see few small things. That's it. That is the activity they have to do for 1 month, right? Is
Wonderful.
that clear? Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And with that, there's a very sweet comment that is coming in. Miss, I'm still 16. We do have some students who are joining us with foundation as well.
Okay,
So
okay.
any areas, and especially for the
Yes.
students who are in the foundation program, who would be in the age criteria between 15 to 18. How can
Yes.
they get into, independently watching their distractions and getting into managing them in terms of their thought patterns? We are
Yeah,
talking about
actually,
adolescence.
yeah, this is the wonderful age actually where you experience yourself. How do you say? This is the age that you try to build your identity, right? Lot of things that chemical changes are happening inside you, and you are going to the society, and you're trying to that establish yourself as a different person, so you're facing a lot of difficulties. So that's how it you develop yourself. This is the first time that you are going to take decisions for yourself, without telling your parents. When you were a kid, that parents took decisions for yourself. Now you are taking decisions for yourself. Maybe you are trying to get into an affair, that this is the first decision that you are going to take. Likewise, yeah, a lot of the wonderful things are happening inside, so you get a lot of frustrations and distractions, because you always try to find the validation from outside, right? Acceptance from outside, right? This is just be yourself, just it. So you get distractions, that is accept those. Through distractions only you can evolve, that you can build. So accept that, enjoy your life, enjoy this age, right? Rather than getting angry and go against it someone else, just enjoy yourself smoothly. That's what I have to tell them.
Wonderful, yes.
Yes.
So, yes, there's comments coming in saying it's so true, Miss. And this session has been so insightful. And thank you very much, ma'am, for educating us on the importance of valuing ourselves. So, I'm reading out the comments for you. And yes, on behalf of Appit, I would like to really thank you for this opening that you gave, and for this awakening that you gave, especially during the times where we are stuck physically in our premises.
Yes, yes.
Um, so now we have an opportunity to take few questions in addition to the questions that I have popped in, because I think I have covered all the questions that have come on board. And flow is open for questions. If you have anyone wanting to ask any clarification in terms of any areas, because even though we did talk about taming your distractions today, there's nothing wrong in questioning and answering the other
Yes.
areas, because it's altogether human behavior and psychological concerns and thoughts and patterns. So open to you. Yes, any concerns? Okay, there is one question coming in. What is the best self-help book that undergraduate can read?
Wow. If you
Yeah,
can
it's a very vague
find a
question, I believe.
undergraduate, right? Yes, yes.
Yes.
If
So
it's
this
a
is
teen, that
self-help.
there's a
Yes.
guy. I can't tell is particularly which is right for them, right?
Exactly.
For to
So, but
get.
I would suggest for this person who's asking the question, when you have some time, come and meet us in the counseling services
Yes.
department, and I will be able to put you in touch with Samitha for some
Mm,
guidance as well if required.
yes.
And altogether, we can come to a discussion as to what would be the best book that you can start reading. Because if we generalize it, as Samitha said, and then give a one book out, that might be doing some emotional harm to someone else. So it's all personal bound. So whenever you have time, just drop and meet
Drop
me.
in,
I'll
yes.
be able to link you up with Samitha. If not, just give me a call on Teams. I'll be able to help you out with that, dear. Right? And then there is one more question. Sorry, one more statement coming in. Let me read it out for you, Samitha. So
Yeah.
this is timely topic, Kaushali. We should do it often open as public events. So Samitha, invitation is over to you all the time.
Okay.
And just to address to that, especially for parents and busy professionals. So this is just a start in terms of the APIT mental health and well-being services that we are reaching out for, community services and for awareness programs for internal students, because if I am to explain how our structure runs in-house, we do have team level cooperating counseling, and then we do have personal counseling that is taking place, in a very subtle manner, because of complete awareness and complete stigma that is there. and
Yes.
contributing to the confidentiality. So we have started opening a lot of sessions of this nature. So we have a range of workshops coming in, and all of you can always join, and there will be different topics at different times. So Samitha will be on board with us for so many other segments that are coming in. So tune in, it's on the way,
Yes.
right?
Is that
Okay,
all
let
right
me
if I
see.
say one last word? If you are going to
Why
finish?
not? Yes, sure.
Yes.
It's more
And
than finished. I'm just reading through the questions
okay, okay,
until
right.
that comes. Yes.
Yeah.
There's one statement called, I read a book called Courage to be Disliked, which talks about Alderian psychology. I hope it
Mm-mm.
is a good one. So it is a suggestion.
Mm.
I would like to share what's on the chat as well for people to, who do not have the accessibility to
Mm.
the chat line. And thank you. There is a message coming, so many messages coming. Samitha, thanking you
Mm.
for this opportunity and for the really informative session that's there. All right. All right. So with
Yes.
that, over to you.
Yeah.
What are your last thoughts and last
Yes.
additions that
Yes.
you would want to add to end this
I just
session for
want to
today?
let you know, the people who are hearing, students especially, if you have a problem, there's an answer. There are no problems without answers. So solve it. Go to a proper person to solve it rather than suffering alone. The most of people are suffering alone, thinking that they only have problems. Each and everyone, even I have problems. There are times that I have to go to some other person to solve, get a help to overcome their problems. Don't think there are perfect people. No one is perfect. Everyone has difficulties. They have overcome it in their own ways. So you have help. Get the help and live happy. The happiness is the most, I don't know, the everyone needs happiness end of the day. So you can be happy. That is your decision. If you want to, if you are deciding to be happy, you can be happy. Take that decision and get the help. Right.
Wonderful. Yes. Samita, I'm sorry, I can't let you go yet. There is another
Yes,
suggestion
right.
for you.
Yeah.
It would be helpful if we can explain the changing nature of life a bit and people and how to face challenges in life in short term.
Mm. Yes.
So this is,
You
I
mean
believe, is
now?
the last
Yeah.
question that I'm taking, but all the other
Yes.
questions I would take and I would reach out to you personally for, support to be given for those students. So this would be the last
Yes.
question for us today.
Yeah. Yeah. So, as I said before, that we have a lot of different experiences throughout our life. From there on, we developed our world, our lenses to look at the world. Look at that's how we look at the world. So we get problems according to that, right? So, and also each and every age, the age has different type of problems. Kids have different problems and teenagers different problems, and when we come 20s, that people young youth, that they have different problems, and 30s and likewise, so they have different types of problem. And you understand gradually changes, the way you are seeing the world changes when you get experiences. You are not going to stuck in a one place and say I am. Even I say I am today, that I said I am when I was 10 years old as well. But still, I call I am. That is, I'm not the same, right? I have changed a lot today. And now I'm like 47, that still I call I am myself, I am, and I'm fighting for myself that I am like this, I am like this. But I have changed a lot, and I will do it in future as well. So just know that you're changing, you are in a process, you're changing, you are not going to stuck in a problem, right? You are going to overcome it, and you will find another problem, and you will solve it as well, and then you will move forward. So that's what. So it's a different discussion. I don't think we have time for that. We'll find some other time.
Exactly. Yes.
Yes.
We do have,
Mm.
taming my internal worrying self. That
Mm.
is one of the topics, upcoming topics in our series of
Okay.
webinars. So
Mm.
I believe the ones who are having those questions, please do join us with the
Mm.
next upcoming webinars. So we'll be able to, get some support
Mm.
and share our experiences. So
Mm.
with that, Samita, thank you so much, so
Thank
very
you very
much
much,
for
Bhatt.
sharing this information. And
Mm.
I believe as counseling and as overall psychologists, it's
Mm.
our supporting duty and it's our passion to support people who would need these clarifications. And you being one of them today for the APIT family. So on
Mm.
behalf of us, thank you so very much. And may you have all the courage to continue this service and the passion be there with you, and all the very best with all the projects that are going on with you. So hope to catch you back again with some of the sessions that are upcoming. So
Thank
audience,
you very much
thank
for
you so
inviting me,
much.
Kaushali. Yeah,
You're
great.
welcome.
Yeah.
Audience, thank you so much for the participation and for these wonderful questions that started throwing up. And by all means, if Samitha to be contacted, the details have been given in the emailer that we have. But if you need further questions and further concerns and contacting details, please do refer to her Facebook page. That is Samitha Center for Psychological Services, right? So you can search out on that and reach out to her. If not, we will be able to share the contacts as well. So we'll be online for about 5 more minutes if you have any personal concerns and wanting to reach out. So with that, we would sign out, and thank you so much again for everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.